What's up, boys? Today I wanted to talk to you all about a very controversial topic, and that topic is pay to win. And we're going to be talking about it in the context of Western audiences and how pay to win has become more prevalent in Western games nowadays, and how the audience's reception to pay to win has changed over the years, why I think that is, and how we can use that as to plot some sort of a trajectory in the next 5 or 10 years of where these games are going to go. Now, pay to win for games in some degree or another has been around for the better part of 10 years, maybe even 10 years by this point. But I think that for the longest time, it's just been something that's existed in mobile games. It's been in, Raid Shadow Legends and these other types of mobile games with these arbitrary gating systems like energy stuff, etc., right? And you would have to spend real money to get these things. And I'm going to talk about how I think pay to win has managed to work its way into Western games, and how I think that audiences nowadays are actually more okay with it, much to the detriment of, I would say, an average gamer, and also I would say in a grander scheme, the customer in general, the audience, the market in general. I don't think this is a good thing. And so I'd like to start off with looking at what the context is behind what is pay to win. And I think the fact that pay to win has such a very, it doesn't really have a defined definition. You can't go into the dictionary and find one definition of pay to win and everybody agrees on it. So for example, you have games like World of Warcraft, who, in my opinion, I think this game's fucking pay to win as shit. I went over, I bought WoW tokens, and I bought mythic raid gear, and then I put it on my main character, and now I'm better in PvP. It's rated PvP. I don't know, I feel like it's obviously pay to win, right? But there are people that think that it's not, because you can farm that stuff with gold. There's also other people that think that pay to win only occurs whenever you're able to obtain something that is only obtainable by spending real money. So it's there's a sword that's better than every other sword in the game, and the only other way you can get it is by spending real money. So, and then there's, on the other side of the spectrum, there's people that think that any cosmetics reference and cosmetics are a fundamental of value in the game, and so adding value through cosmetics is adding value through giving people the win condition through having them. So what I'm saying is that pay to win has such a broad definition for so many different kinds of people, it's very hard for people to stand united against any sort of real feature of pay to win, because it's just so it's so amorphous. It's so there's no official definition of it. I think that's really what I'm trying to say here. And I think this is one reason why it started to happen, is that people who defend the games and people who are okay with these games can always find some point of difference and some other game that is popular that has some feature of pay to win as well. I think that whenever I was criticizing the Lost Ark pay-to-win features, people kept reminding me about World of Warcraft's pay-to-win features, and which I said, yes, you are very, very right about that too, but I think that in many cases people view it as a personal attack, and I think that also as especially MMO players, because let's be honest, okay, talking about pay-to-win in an MMO, this is sacrilegious, this is anathema, this is blasphemy, this is like sacrificing a goat to Satan in the middle of a church. This is the last thing that you want to do. And meanwhile, every single other game that comes out nowadays is somehow pay to win in one way or another. And why does this happen? I think that it happens because, and the turning point for this is, it happens because of the games, people play them and they enjoy playing the games. It is literally that fucking simple to me. And I think the best example of this is whenever pay to win really, I think, made a very big inroad into Western audiences, which is Genshin Impact. When a previously thought impenetrable audience of pay to win players, or pay to win, non-pay to win players in the Western audiences, it's well, you can never sell a game like Genshin Impact over here, right? Nobody would ever buy it. Then it comes out, and this was off the heels of Breath of the Wild, which was very popular. People like that idea of open world exploration. The game was fluid, it played well, and I haven't really played it myself personally, but I've seen the way that it looks, and it does look visually appealing to a certain degree. And what ended up happening is you had millions of people spending millions of dollars on wishes here in America. Can you believe that? This is something that people thought would be impossible to do. And I would say 5 years before that, it would have never happened. But look, here it is, and it is happening. And I think that it's actually just as simple as people want a good game to play. And people will forgive and forget and make excuses for pay-to-win features because they are enjoying the game. And you can make all of the excuses and all of the rationalizations and everything else beyond it, but I think that it's actually just that simple. People are enjoying playing the game, and it's just as simple of, two columns, a positive and negative column, and there's more things in the positive column for them, and so they keep playing the game. I think also what's happened, and this is a bit of a generational thing, and I think it's coming, the generational effect is coming from both directions. So the first direction is from younger people. You have somebody right now, like let's say you're 21 years old. Well, if you're 21 years old, the odds are like you've never really lived. I mean, if you're in America here, I mean, hopefully I would at least think, you probably never lived without the internet. You don't remember what the Stone Ages were like whenever you had to call your friends on the phone and their mom would answer and then you'd ask to see if Timmy was home so you could go play at the park. This is just not the way people do things anymore. And because of that, I think that many of those people don't necessarily understand exactly how much different it used to be whenever we were, like me, like people that are like, I'd say 30 and over, whenever we were gamers and we were kids in the 90s, there was no real pay to win or anything like that. Pay to win is renting the same video game twice from Blockbuster. So you see an audience of people who have been brought up and conditioned in a way to be more accepting of these types of features because they've grown up with them. Whereas for people my age, and I'm also going to talk about people my age becoming more okay with it as well, but first thing I want to talk about the young people is that people my age, we see this and we're like, man, like, why can't we just have another Super Mario World again? Why can't we just have let's have another Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time? Like, what is this shit, right? But you have a lot of people who they've grown up and this is all they've known is, oh yeah, you buy this from the microtransactions. So you're establishing a culture, you're establishing a precedent. And for younger people, they don't have any other frame of reference, so that's just what they accept as being okay. And I think that growing up, and that's always been okay, and that it is what it is. I think that's the way a lot of people see it. They've been conditioned to believe that. And then also, for older people, I think that it's literally this simple. And I think that for some people it is. Obviously, everybody is different, and my ideas don't necessarily affect an individual, but this is kind of what I'm assuming. And I'm basing this off of my fundamental belief that people will always advocate in their self-interest. And what I think is that there were the guys that were raiding in high school and college in Burning Crusade, Classic WoW, Wrath of the Lich King. Well, guess what? Now they're balding, gray-bearded, 35-year-old men. 35-year-old men that are, they've got a wife, a kids, and you know what? They've also got a pretty good software engineering job, and they're making over 100 grand a year. And the kids that are 15 and 17 now that are kicking their ass in the video game, it pisses them off. So I think it's just as simple as a lot of the guys that grew up playing video games, they don't really care too much about pay to win as much anymore because now they can afford to pay to win. So back in the day, they couldn't afford to pay to win. They didn't like it. Now people are older, they have the money, and you know what? Pay to win's not that bad. And I do know this is a very, very black pill take on it. This is a very, very, nihilistic perspective to have. But I think that it's true. I really do. I see people say this stuff all the time. And you can corroborate this with the amount of mobile game revenue that's being generated here in America. You're having every single soccer mom on the block playing Candy Crush and depositing tickets into that, depositing crystals, tokens, whatever the fuck you use in that game. And they're spending money like these, like it's crack. I mean, like, just so you guys understand, last year, I think this is 2021, I could be wrong about the year, but I'm not wrong about the numbers, mobile gaming revenue was more than console and PC gaming revenue combined. So these games are making bank. And this is the facts, okay? Let me ask you a question. If somebody offers you $100 or $120, which one are you going to take? I think most people are going to take $120. And I think the more that you depersonalize that decision by, extrapolating it to a group decision amongst people in general, the more that you have that $120 be the obvious option. So that's why I think that we're going to see a lot more pay-to-win games come out, because I think audiences have been softened up by the fact that they've grown up with features like this, and so this is either normalized for them, or you have people that are now older and have less time, and so they appreciate features like this because it allows them to keep up with people that they wouldn't be able to keep up with otherwise, because they just simply don't have, they have other life responsibilities nowadays, and so they pay to win instead. And these are the people that talk about, oh, it's not pay to win, it's pay for convenience. It's like, bro, it's pay to win. But, I think it's important to call it what it is, but it's also important to see why people feel this way. And I think the fact is that this is going to continue happening, and it's going to continue becoming more prevalent. And I think that, really, where is this going to go? Where are people going to go with this? I think that there's going to be even more social pressure to even engage in pay-to-win systems. Now, I only have a few real points of reference for this and data or information to back this up, but I do think that it's true, especially if you corroborate it with the, in general, social pressure to keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with the latest social trends, making sure that you have an iPhone 6, because anybody that has an iPhone 5 nowadays is fucking poor. So what I've seen a lot of times, like remember back in Fortnite, kids would bully other kids for not having microtransaction skins in Fortnite. And I think this is going to become even more prevalent and even more common among a larger audience, because I already see this happen. If you guys ever see, go on Twitter, go on Reddit or something like that, and especially on Twitter, because Reddit's more of a crystallized or a more serious audience, and you're going to see, like there's a new microtransaction that X or Y company, let's just assume Blizzard, let's assume Blizzard announces, I don't know, a new store mount, and you're going to see all of these people that, they've got their profile picture of it, and it's of their character, or it's fan art of their character, and their name is like, Ashley Windrunner, and she simps for Sylvanas because she's actually crazy, and, this is the kind of person, and she's like, wow, this is so awesome, I don't have a lot of money this month, but I think I'm gonna have to buy this. And it's like, people make fun of the girl, and then she's like, well, guess what, I have the money, I'm not a broke bitch. And so people view it, and I think that you're going to see the introduction of this to happen more, is people are going to view status in video games as being able to afford certain types of microtransactions and having certain types of things in the game in general. And this has always been the case, but what's different this time is that that status is not derived from effort or time invested in the game. It's derived from money invested or money spent in the game. And I think this is already happening. You're already seeing this, and you have more and more people now that actually, it's weird. I think it's just so weird that people almost take pride in spending money on these types of things because they can do it. They feel like this is what they want to do with their money. And, who am I to tell people what they can and can't do with their money, right? Do whatever the fuck you want. But I do think I can still have an opinion on it. I think it's dumb, but that's what they do. And so I think this is going to become more and more prevalent, and it's going to become more and more popular as, those younger people who grew up with microtransactions and being conditioned to be okay with them. I think more of those people are going to be okay with it, and you're going to see those people getting older, and more of the Asmongolds, of these people, either getting really good software engineering jobs and being able to just buy the stuff anyway and feel better than the kids that can't fucking buy it, or you're going to see them move on. And, like I have friends of mine who, they were really, really against pay to win, and they fucking hated that shit. They played World of Warcraft back in the day, and now they're like a manager at like a big box store, and they have a wife and 3 kids, and so they just don't fucking play video games at all anymore. So that's what I think is going to happen a lot, and those people are going to remove themselves from the population in general, and so of video game players. So I think this is going to become more and more popular, and I'm very worried about this. And the reason why I'm worried about it, there's a lot of reasons why I'm worried about it. I think that, like, in a perfect world, I'd like to see, some degree of like legislation to limit the types of behaviors and the types of things like this that games can offer you. In my opinion, this is kind of like what I think, and let's use Lost Ark as an example, is that I think that if Lost Ark, let's say because in Belgium and the Netherlands, you can't play Lost Ark because according to Belgium and the Netherlands rules and their laws, Lost Ark is an illegal game because it simulates gambling. Well, my opinion is that if Western games and Western audiences, I'm talking like Canada, America, Australia, and even more European countries had similar laws that prevented you from playing games like this, the fact is that those games simply would not exist because Western and American audiences are just so massive that they would have to change the game and change the paradigm of how you pay money in order to appeal to making sure that those games were legally coherent and legally they were following the law, right? And so I feel like I would love to see more legislation. And where do I really draw the line? Where do I think pay to win? Like, I don't like any pay to win. Pay to win sucks. Like, yeah, sure. I've done pay to win stuff in Lost Ark. Same with WoW. I usually do it for content and, just because it saves time, etc. And it's in the game. But I would prefer that none of this stuff existed. And where do I really see change happening? I see change happening on a legislation level. I see change happening on a actual, like, a forced level of, like, laws and things like this. Because I've said this many times, these companies, they will do whatever they can to make money, and people will always find a way to make an excuse for buying their products. People hate child labor, but they're still buying products from Apple. People hate, child labor again, they're still buying products from Nike. These things just keep happening, and they'll always find an excuse or a reason for it. And I don't think that you can really hold these companies accountable in any term of a boycott or in any term of a like a consumer rights activism group or anything like that. I think that the only way that it can ever be actually moderated and controlled is on a legislative level, because I've tried everything else and it hasn't worked. And so where do I think that they should draw the line? Where should be the first line to draw? I think it's very simple. I think that you should not be able to buy loot boxes. I think that loot boxes that you spend money, if you ever spend money in a game and then that money goes towards something that is not necessarily a direct outcome. So like, for example, you buy a box and then the box has a randomized chance to have different items in it, like an Overwatch box, excuse me, and just a traditional loot box. I think that these should be illegal. I think that they simulate gambling, and I don't think that they have. I think not only do they simulate gambling, but these games are also they're made to appeal to children and young people. And I think that using advertising and marketing that appeals to young people and then trying to engage them into a video game that simulates gambling, how is this different from flavored cigarettes? How is this different? I don't know. I feel like it's somehow even worse. And I'm just so tired of seeing this shit. And I think that, yes, you're right. Everybody should, like, I don't necessarily, I'll be honest, this might sound like an asshole thing, but I don't necessarily feel sorry for these people whenever they make stupid decisions like spending money on these games. But I don't think that it should happen either way. It's like, it's stupid to leave your car unlocked with a brand new PS5 in it in a bad side of town, in the middle of an empty parking lot, and then you come back the next day, PS5 is gone. Yeah, I think you're dumb for doing that, but I still think the guy who stole it should go to jail. And the way that I feel about this is that I would love to see more legislation about this. I'd like to see at least one, right? Tech-savvy senator or some person in a legislative office that's able to identify this and understand what the problem is and see how insidious it is. It's very worrying to see this happen, and I'm worried that it's going to get too far ahead of us, and we're going to have even more games that become even more parasitic, and these games implement more gambling features that are more unhealthy towards audiences. And I do think that unless it's actually regulated, I think that there is no way an individual consumer, you can choose to, and I completely respect the idea that, I'm not going to buy this or that game based off of this or that reason because you have a moral thing or you just don't like it. More power to you to do that, but I don't think that's going to change the market. And I think that games like Genshin Impact, games like Lost Ark, games like World of Warcraft that have these obvious features that are simulating gambling, I think these features and the prevalence and the success of these games serves as direct evidence that boycotts and personal abstaining from something personally is just simply not working. And I think that we need some sort of advocacy on a legislative level for this. And I hope that it happens before it's too late and before more people get taken down that road. But again, I think people are dumb. They should be accountable for themselves, and they shouldn't take those decisions to begin with. But at the end of the day, at a certain point, you do have to protect dumb people from themselves. And I think that we're definitely down that road. And I really hope that, I hope more people can wake up and see that, and we can actually look and see what's really going wrong. And I think also, if these things didn't exist and they were, for some reason illegal, I don't think that it's not like we wouldn't see video games anymore. We would just see better and more ethically designed video games. And it's not like these people would just close up shop. And if they did, and they can't make a game without simulating gambling, well, maybe that's probably for the best. So anyway, that's how I feel about pay to win. I think that it's going to become even more popular. I think that it's going to become even more prevalent. And I think the only thing that's going to slow it down is going to be actual legislation. I think that anything else besides that is just completely spitting in the wind. It will do literally nothing, and the people that enjoy it will laugh at you for being upset about it. So that's what I think, and I'd be really curious to hear what you guys think too. I know probably half the people at this point have already paused the video and have already written, holy shit, I think that's the government or one of these companies here to shut me down. A lot of you guys have already paused the video halfway through to give your 2 cents about this in the comments, but if you haven't already, please go ahead and do it. I'd like to read what people have to say and see what they think, because as I said, this is my interpretation of things after seeing them evolve and change, and I'd be curious to see what everybody else's is as well. So thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And what an ironic statement that this is going to be on the eve of tomorrow, which is going to be the release of the World of Warcraft mobile game. Oh boy. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.